that doesn't mean there was, I'm just saying there's more than one way to confront the problem. And if there was not a problem before and there's a problem later, that isn't at the feet of getting rid of civilization, because insofar as that's true, that would involve getting rid of the problem. In the case of problematic childbirth, evidently that wasn't the situation before. So, you're not solving the problem by maintaining it.
I'm not promoting the medicalization of women's bodies to any extent. I think that women knowing their bodies and being able to control have autonomy over themselves and have autonomy over their own reproductive systems is very important, and is a right that but I'm just saying I'm not there are medical reasons and physiological reasons that women have trouble during childbirth. Hormones are a difficult thing to navigate, and so for example, some women lack the hormone that's necessary to dilate, and they die in childbirth. And in current society, they don't. In an industrialized society, they don't die in childbirth. And I don't think you addressed the second point, which is concerning people with disabilities.
You mean the people now that have disabilities, right?
Yeah, persons living with
well, that's a very tough one. I mean, people were cared for, I would say, more than they are now. But technologically, we know that there are people dependent on that. And I think that's one of the hardest questions to answer. I mean, some people say, and I'm not real comfortable with this answer, quite frankly, but if you want to put it in an extreme way, you could say, as some people have, are we supposed to keep this whole industrialized suicide going for the sake of the people that you don't want to pull the plug on? I don't want to pull the plug on it either. Well,
but if you're saying
no,
that's what other people say, I want to know what you're saying.
I said I'm not comfortable with that answer, but it's to some degree, and it's not. I don't think it's a full answer. I'm saying I don't think it's a full answer. But if you're saying that, if you discover that, what is it that creates the problem, and the problem just keeps on being created, whatever it is, like more people with all kinds of conditions, all kinds of problematic things, including childbirth, including autism, including health-threatening obesity, in terms of on and on and on. These are creations of civilization. They are creations of mass society. So where is the healthy direction? I don't know what to do about disabled people. I'm getting old. I mean, I don't want to pull the plug on people, but we have a reality too. I mean, in other words, what is the point of, where do we go with that? I mean, you tell me. I don't know. I mean, well, and it's supposed to be a workshop. I wasn't planning on standing up here. I mean, I'm not saying I have all the answers in any way. If we had a smaller group, or maybe we should break up into groups, that would be good. Because as I said at the top, I thought, this is a workshop, not a speech by somebody. What do you think?
I just preface this by saying, talking about ecological collapse or learning from primitive cultures, qualities, and the idea that technology is not neutral, I think that's relatively uncontroversial. We could debate that, but we're in the present now. You've written the book Future Primitive, but that future primitive will look something, will be based on where we're coming from now. And you can appreciate how maybe the problem with Marx wasn't Marx, but the Marxist. So the problem with you writing about this stuff, isn't, and talking about it isn't the problem, but you should be aware of how those ideas get used, right? So it's not enough to say I'm not sure. Not that you're here, and I don't want to put you in that position to be like the guru to tell us what to do and to have all the answers. But as anarchists, at the Anarchist Book Fair, we reckon with all these questions that have come up: disability, oppression, people's human dignity, environmental collapse, ecological collapse. We reckon with that in the here and now. And you're fully aware of green fascism and how how there are movements in the green movement that advocate malfusion solutions to just letting crises kill people off because that's better. The Sierra Club in the U.S. was taken over by these people who advocated that all illegal immigrants should be kicked out. So it's a bit frustrating, right? Because this is a debate discussion, it's not a workshop anymore, but you need to reckon with that, right? And not reckon with that as an individual, but reckon with how those ideas are used, because there are green anarchists. I'm not talking about anybody in the room, but I'm talking about, not green anarchists, but the green movement that uses these ideas to say that it was better when it was smaller, and fascists use these ideas as well.
I'm aware of that.
Of cleansing and... I'm glad you're here so we can debate this stuff, but it is frustrating. People have expressed that in different ways, that we're like other workshops and people here are reckoning with these things now and trying to conceive of, not solutions, I don't think there's any grand solution, but conceive of how we move forward. And I mean, I can't conceive of that in any way that is going to say to any human being, capitalist's fine, right? The elite's fine, but like billions of us on the earth, like we have to, a basic principle is that respect for those people's dignity and within the structure that we're in. So fine, you know, analyzing primitive cultures, being very critical of technology. I feel that we're not critical enough of technology. We can just throw out words, federation, this, whatever. Those are just words, you're right, but reckoning with those real organizational problems now in a way that's non-oppressive, that's the question.
Of course.
And you're skirting that because these are being put out very clearly. And so as somebody just sort of heckled, like, you're saying that some people say that, but if we were to say it's contrary to any sort of liberatory principle to pull the plug on anybody without any sort of economy involved, it's contrary to any liberatory principle to allow somebody who's differently abled or expresses themselves in different ways not be able to do so if it doesn't hurt somebody else. If that's contrary to those principles, then that's not compatible with the primitivist idea of the future. That's just, they're two different things.
I think there's some very tough, hard questions. There's some dilemmas. There's some dilemmas. If some of these things do depend on, well, I mean, I'm not trying to hide. I've never said that I have a whole catechism of answers.
People are using your ideas. It's not about you. I really said that. It's not about you.
Yeah.
People are using your ideas because I actually, your books are really interesting and they force us to think about certain things. But it's the application of that. And you know, any idea that's put out into the public realm is applied. People use them.
Well, I know people
you have a certain
said,
responsibility to how your ideas are being used by the green movement, by so-called green anarchists, by all those people, right?
yeah, but I can't, as an anarchist, precisely as an anarchist, I can't control what other people think. I mean, as you know, there were people in the 80s who thought AIDS was a good thing to kill off people. I mean, that's just so ghastly and fascist. As an anarchist, I find that just absolutely repellent. And you know, I mean, a lot of people have all kinds of ideas. That's not my. I've tried to. I mean, we're all trying to do the best we can, and there are people that don't want any of these questions even raised. You know, who would gleefully suppress all this shit. You know, that's very, you know, we're just getting started. I mean, we don't, you know, sure, they're hugely important distinctions, and you have to think through. You have to look at the whole thing. I mean, I think there are some things that are already contributions that are somewhat established, not as a program, not as a thing to impose, you know, but, I mean, I see your point exactly. You know, I feel very uncomfortable. I feel you know, you have to be uncomfortable in all kinds of ways. I mean, I've been told I'm responsible for people who are in prison because they go and torch things or something. Well, shit, you know, maybe I am. I don't know how I don't know how that even works though. I mean, so you say nothing or what? I mean, it's very hard. It's very hard. I mean, where you try to take responsibility.
What you just said. Because you're referring to the Green Scare, right? There's a bunch of political prisoners in prison right now who did some courageous acts, right? They took down companies, or they're alleged to have committed arson against companies that are destroying the earth or torturing animals, right? And they did that and they're in jail. So people are claiming that you're responsible because, you know, but that's really different Because I would totally agree with what you said. You just tell them to fuck off.